What's going on YouTube? Kronos here, and welcome back to another PSO2 video. So today's video is going to be a topic I actually kind of dreaded making a video about, just because it's such a point of contingency in the community that I feel like it's going to spark up a couple of things for individuals, but I felt like I wanted to give my 2 cents on the matter itself and really kind of dive into what the actual issue is. So today's video we're actually going to be talking about expert matching. So if you're specific to the global servers and you're not sure what expert matching actually is, essentially expert matching is a set of rules, or it's a rule set that you can set up whenever you're creating a quest that only allows other players who have completed a specific set of tasks to also join your matches or join your quests in a sense. It's meant primarily to help, I can't think of a better way of saying this, but like weeding out players who haven't invested as much time into bettering themselves in the game as you have. Now, I don't really think this is something that's super helpful to the game itself at the moment, and I'm going to explain why. So hold on before you freak out in the comments below. There is more to this. Now, some players have the mindset that expert matching is what pushes players to be better. It incentivizes proper play, so on and so forth, and it gives players a reason to really try, essentially. I disagree. Now, the reason I say that is expert matching in reality, or how I look at expert matching, is really just to help the player that has put in time and effort into the game itself, that doesn't want to put an effort to just creating a group to run content itself too. And something to jump in and jump out of content overall and not really have to worry about it. Be able to be grouped with players of like skill, to be able to get through things fairly quickly. And yes, that is something I also want too, right? You want to be able to get through your content fairly quickly. You don't want to play with players that aren't very good at the game itself. However, there are ways of grouping with players that are also of like skill levels and completing content. It's called an alliance. In past games, you didn't have the option to just have something ticked to set, arbitrary rules against players. It really just incentivizes lazy group making. Now, that seems a bit harsh, but it's the reality of the situation itself. And to be honest, I'm cool with it. I would much rather have that as an option too. I would love to have that because it makes things easier for me as a player that knows they can complete expert matching requirements. I would like to be able to just turn something on and finish a quest substantially faster. However, people are talking about expert matching like it's going to be the great equalizer of what fixes the game. I don't think it's actually going to help anyone at all except for that one specific type of player. Just the player that's not in an alliance, or that doesn't always like to group with their alliance, but they want to get through content fairly quickly with other players of the same type. Other players that play in an alliance, they're completely unaffected by expert matching because they pre-set up groups. Doesn't matter. They usually have like skill sets, or in a lot of cases, people who are putting together groups put together players of equal skill sets together. Or I'm sorry, they mix up, or they branch out their players of equal skill sets together to make sure runs go fairly smooth. Sometimes grouping the more experienced players with the less experienced players and helping them get the content done, that much faster. In a sense, almost, carries with people that are getting kind of carried. It's a bad way of looking at it. I can't think of a better way of saying it, but that's really kind of what ends up happening in a lot of situations itself. Relative power kind of gets moved around in some of the best groups, and it makes it so it's a nice experience for everyone. Now, why do I have this mindset? If it's something I want, why do I think it's going to help anyone? Well, to be honest, players who are going to push for expert matching aren't really the players that needed to have that as an option to push them into it. Meaning that I don't think that expert matching is going to be the straw that pushes every player to play that much better. You're just weeding them away from yourself. There's actually a bigger problem overall when it comes to PSO2. In my experience so far, the real issue is actually just gearing when it comes to PSO2. As it stands, you can enter content with any gear, and there's no requirements. There's nothing that's stopping you. As long as you're high enough level, you can enter the content. You could walk in there with a 1-star sword and no units, and no one can stop you. Even if we had expert matching requirements, if you were able to complete them with terrible gear, then it doesn't matter. As a joke, I actually completed the expert requirements over on JP with doing nothing but spamming the Etoile wand action. The whole thing. I was able to get S ranks, was able to do everything I needed to do. Granted, it was a little bit more difficult, but, well, I say more difficult, reality actually was substantially easier. With just doing that one strategy. It wasn't something that was absolutely insane or something that was crazy difficult. And to be honest, the issue with expert matching is it gets power crept. It gets power crept really, really hard. However, if we have something like a gear scoring system into the game itself, it does also offer players the incentive to upgrade their gear, or they just can't get into certain content. It gives them, some sort of, a barrier to enter content, which can be a bit of a pain, but it gives them that incentive to at least upgrade their gear. Even if they're not playing properly, at least they have the proper gear. You don't have players running around with no units or fairly unused units, not upgraded, not plus 35 weapons. To be honest, in most cases, if you're at least running a 15-star weapon, a decent potential, covering all your S-grade augment slots, and have your units at least upgraded to max, like plus 10, most of the time, players aren't really going to freak out or bat an eye at you. It's the players that you see running around with plus 3 and plus 4 Nox weapons, or unupgraded weapons at all, units that really aren't even plus 10, no rings on, things of that sort. That really tends to show that players are not really putting any time into that. And then you see those same players with, fashion on that would cost them almost 100 mil. They took like maybe 3 or 4 mil out of that 100, they would have gear has no one ever batting an eye at them. Now, we're not saying that you need to be completely, fully top of the line geared. Yes, it would make things much better, and knowing what you're doing would be much better, but not needing to worry about your gear at all to walk into content can literally create what people would consider someone to be a leech. And it sucks, but that's really the actual problem, or the problem that I find currently when it comes to PSO2. It has nothing to do with expert matching. Now, granted, I like mechanics that drive the player to be better. I personally am a player that's always trying to improve. I want to get better at the game itself. However, not everyone actively thinks that sort of way. Game mechanics need to help ease players into that sort of thing, and expert matching isn't the answer. Expert matching does help out, again, that one type of player that I mentioned beforehand, but that's it. And in reality, if you're saying, I want expert matching for that reason because it's going to incentivize players to actually upgrade their gear and get things together, I'm sorry, but you're incorrect. These players aren't going to do that sort of thing just because expert matching is all of a sudden a thing. What they are going to do is they're going to complain about the player base being split, and it's actually going to kind of move them away from even trying to upgrade their gear. Their mindset's going to be, well, everyone is going to not have this sort of gear, so who cares? Some players, I will say there'll be a small fraction of players that will experience not having expert matching, and it will highly incentivize them to get expert matching taken care of and maybe push them to being better. But to be honest, those players were already close to being able to do that itself. They were already at that point where they're like, you know what? I think I want to get better at the game itself. Maybe I should upgrade my gear. Maybe I should learn more about my class, so on and so forth. But I don't think expert matching is the end-all be-all answer to everything that happens when it comes to getting these taken care of. And as much as we like to meme about MPAs, being kind of terrible on global, as someone who played on JP for a very long time, head over to JP and turn off expert matching. If you really want to see how bad it can get, that is actually the worst, because at least on global right now, when you're doing a random pug, there's a chance that the groups you get could be fairly solid because there is nowhere that they're getting separated away from. On JP, if you have expert matching off, it's no holds bar. It's going to be usually the worst of the worst. So I don't think that's really helping anyone, to be perfectly honest. That's my reason for saying I really don't care too much about expert matching. As a player who can carry, it's kind of unfair to say I don't care about expert matching completely, just because I'm not really worried about the other people that are in the content with me. A lot of times I'm looking for ways to try to figure out a way to solo the content itself. So, that, and I'm always looking for more content overall to do. So it is a bit of a biased opinion in that sort of sense, but I think there's a much bigger problem overall when it comes to PSO2 that needs to be addressed. Now, I don't think it will be, to be perfectly honest. I don't think it's something that can happen just because of the way the game is made. In certain situations, higher rarity does not always mean more power. There's certain things you want to do when it comes to your gear, certain things you want to do when it comes to your units, your weapons, so on and so forth. And putting those, stipulations or putting those penalties in or gating people away because of those reasons can make things a bit more difficult. But I also don't agree with the end-all be-all that expert matching is absolutely what we need. I don't think it really helps as much as people are trying to make it sound. I don't think it's as important as people want to make it sound itself either. I just want to bring light and attention to what expert matching really actually does. Now, again, this doesn't apply to every single player. It's a perspective, and again, this is my opinion itself on the matter and my experience across multiple MMOs and things that I have seen, because if you guys think this happens only in PSO2, man, are you sorely mistaken. Try playing any other MMO. The only difference in those MMOs are, in most cases, you're at least required to have a minimum like gear level or gear score. As much as we kind of hate that sometimes, it is something that does help out for the lower end player to get them to actually upgrade their gear. Anyway, guys, hopefully that helps you guys understand my perspective of the matter itself. Now, you are more than welcome to give your own perspective in the comments below. I'm going to say this once: be respectful to one another. I'm not going to tolerate not being respectful. You're just going to get tossed into the void and no one's going to hear anything that you're having to say. We can have respectful conversations, and if I choose that something isn't going to work out, or if I foresee things going a specific way, I am going to axe it early on just to make sure that we all have a good time itself. But providing your opinion on the matter is totally fine. Just, again, be respectful. A like on the video is much appreciated, guys. As well as you have ad block guilt, the other half as well by subscribing. Both are completely free and do help me out a ton. If you want to keep up with the videos as they go live, make sure to click on the bell icon to be notified of those, as well as community posts, or follow me over on Twitter, or join the Discord to get notifications in those sort of situations. Thanks so much for joining me, guys, and I'll see you on the next video. Take care. Peace out.